with rural commercial and rural industrial development. Both the province and the county promote this type of development. Provisional consent has been provided for the creation of the two lots. So the next step is simply to determine the permitted uses for this site. The owners on the property, the Langs, they actually live there as well. So they do care about what goes on in their backyard, so to speak. And they have out of respect for the neighbors and the process, not attended at this point, but they are here today to see it through. Some of these properties we've had people come by to purchase and they just haven't been able to. But the property owner, Paul Lang, in all likelihood would act as the real estate agent for these lots. Paul currently has a buyer for one of the lots, which would be a suitable use if it was, deemed permitted as commercial self-storage. Paul's also already lost two other potential purchasers just because we hadn't had the lots created. So that's why we're seeking this process. One of them bought the former drive-in theater, and the other was a contractor's yard. The neighbors, I guess, that have voiced their concerns, having done their due diligence, local area residents would know the property was designated for employment either by living here or when they moved here. That being said, it's important to note where this type of development borders on any residential area, there are township buffering landscaping requirements in terms of a berm or a hedgerow to be 2 meters high and 3 meters wide. Some of the issues that have been brought up is water, groundwater, and having spoken with local hydrogeologist as well as well driller, both who are familiar with the area of the township, there's ample groundwater, being only a couple hundred yards from Lake Ontario, but the issue is poor soil saturation rates due to a high percentage of clay in the soil. In these situations, dug wells are recommended as opposed to drilled wells. You can also use flow control devices and storage tanks that are recommended for anyone experiencing water issues. In this situation, the closest well in proximity to these lots would actually be the Langs well. All the others are over 100 meters away. Traffic was also brought up. Engineers have completed traffic reports and sightline assessments, and both are in support of the entrances. The permitted uses, given the concerns of both the public and the council, the recommendation in the request today is to revise the permitted use list down to as follows: commercial self-storage, agricultural equipment supplies and repair, butcher shop, contractor's yard, craft shop, farm, lawn, garden supply, and equipment dealership, and merchandising service shop. Keep in mind that there be a holding provision on this, so no development is proposed at this point. The holding provision that is created would be that is for a site plan and user specific. So once a use is determined, studies and reports can be provided to address any concerns for that specific use. And appropriate studies really cannot be conducted until we determine what the use for the lot is. Finally, on behalf of myself and the client, thank you to the township staff for reconsidering the zoning bylaw application as it's consistent with both the county and township objectives. And that way we can avoid the appeal process, which can take months and be quite expensive for taxpayers. Any questions? Thank you.
Floor is yours.
Well, Mr. Mayor, council members, delighted to be here with you again today. And I have a question for you. Is it possible to be really excited about a project for 20 years? The answer is overwhelmingly yes. And so we're delighted to be here today to be talking about something that we've been working on for 20 years. 20 years ago, when the Harwood Railway Station was up for sale in Roseneath after it had been moved down there in 1905. It was up for sale because the Elmwood Township wanted to destroy it, take it down, demolish it because there was some vandalism going on. Joanne Bird, who is on our group, heard about it, contacted the people. We bought it for $1. And then we raised $13,000 in the village of Harwood, people excited about it, to take it down piece by piece and store it into tractor trailers. We have been excited about this for 20 years. And so now we were particularly excited when the Heritage Committee and you under your leadership, Mayor Scott Jibb, decided to discuss this at the Heritage Committee. And so here we are. We are so pleased and excited that the Heritage Committee would have moved that motion to move this to this council to establish what we might think is a committee as a first step of where we go with this after 20 years. And I thought really at the Heritage Committee, when there were three really things that took place about how we do this, and it was your words, Mr. Mayor, was the process, then the funding, and the function. What happens to this once it gets up? And so many museums kind of sit there. So those are three particular three different aspects of this. So we're in the process at the moment, establishing a committee to see where we go from this. And the thing that is so remarkable about this is that our friend George Parker has this magnificent, exquisite display of the railway, a railway that happened 150 or more years ago, the greatest historical aspect of Hamilton Township, the greatest entrepreneurship of anything that happened in this part of the country, to have the second railroad in Canada being built right here in Hamilton Township across the Rice Lake. So this is very significant. And when we got the picture of the original station from the McCord Museum in Montreal, then we were particularly excited about that. A friend of mine said, boy, it doesn't take much for you to get excited. I was excited about getting this picture of this station that was built 150 years ago. So I would like to share my time with George Parker to say a few words about his collection that would be able to come to this particular building if we were able to get this built. But the process first is to get the committee established in order to look for location, how we do this, what would it look like, the architect, engineering. You know, there's a lot of questions that I'm sure that you have and that we have, that we need to have some folks in the community. But I can assure you, when we raised $13,000 in that village of Harwood, there is big community support for this project. If you're thinking about, well, will people really like this? Yeah, people will really like this. This is very, very important. So George, could I just come forward to say a few words, please?
Now, George, you and I know each other personally, and Pauline's provided you an opportunity to say a few words, and I know you can't do that on this topic. Your enthusiasm is many times anyone else's in the room, including Pauline. So, George, we have other things on our agenda. Keep that in mind, please. The microphone is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mayor Jibb. I'm currently living in Cobourg. I'm a retired planning consultant. I was educated at Ryerson Architectural Science. Got interested in the railway story about 13 years ago. Fantastic story that I felt had not been fully investigated. People like Ted Rayfuse, who you may know, history teacher in Cobourg, had done a lot of work on it, but I felt there were a lot of unanswered questions. So I really delved right into it and ended up building a lot of models, which some of you may have seen were exhibited at the Cobourg Museum over the last 13 years. My time there, the exhibits have sort of been retired, so to speak, and looking for a permanent home for this story, which I think really deserves a permanent home. The story is, I find, just totally captivating. And so when in January 2024, the Heritage Committee had raised this issue, in June of that year, 2024, I indicated to Mayor Jibb that if such a project did come to pass, that I would certainly be interested in the second floor of this 60-foot long by 25-foot long building as a potential permanent home for the Cobourg and Peterborough Railway story. So I made a presentation as to what exhibits I had, models, artifacts, drawings, photographs at the last Heritage meeting. And so here we are today. So it's a bit unusual, not from Hamilton Township, but this story really took place more in Hamilton Township than it did within the town limits of Cobourg. So I'm beginning to think that really, in so many ways, Harwood was the crossroads for this story. The one end of the bridge, the iron ore story, transshipment point, then of course the artifacts that have come out of Rice Lake that we now have. So anyway, I'm really excited that this might come to pass. So I think I could keep it at that.
Thank you.
I would
George.
just like to conclude by saying that the former members of the Heritage Committee have endorsed this. I gave you some information about what they said. Les Houston, Bruce Taylor, Tom Cruikshank, and John Joint they're also very excited about this project. And of course, our friends at the Harwood Waterfront have been sponsoring this right from the very beginning. And with us today is Jay Chetton, who is one of the major persons on our committee, and Joanne Bird, Heather Goff, Tina Greer, Martin Bugden, and Bruce Taylor. So if there are any questions, I'd be pleased to take any questions. I can't hear you very well, but I'll do my best.
Pauline, if you can't hear me, we're both in trouble. Any questions from council members? Larry, please.
First, through you, Mr.
You speak up
Mr. Mayor.
as loud as you can.
I'll do my best. Pauline, thanks very much, and for the presentation. Some years ago, when I was the chair of the Harwood Hall, I always had this opportunity of talking about the building we're discussing, and I always thought that there was an opportunity there to put it on the Harwood Hall property. It was almost automatic for me. We lack tourism areas that people can go to, but the Harwood Dock is one of our essential tourist locations. And I was always looking at the museum aspect. We talk about our heritage in the township, the farm, the pioneers, etc. But we have no way of displaying it other than Cobourg. And I just see this as an opportunity to have a location or a place in our township that we could hold all our artifacts and display them in a way that people can take advantage of, not just visitors, but our own people. I mean, you look around the walls here at the council meeting and we've got historical views of all the buildings and families that we've had in the township. But it'd be nice to have a real museum facility. And I see this more as something for the future. And it's going to take some money, but I think there's been some practices where in other villages and stuff like that, that they've gone together and they've, as Pauline has indicated, they raised $13,000 just to take the building down and put it in a truck. Well, it's going to take more than that to put it up, but I think the emphasis is there. And I would hope that we can maybe move this forward in the future. So I wish you all the best on this, and I fully support it. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. We're excited about this, and particularly the generosity of George Parker on this, because with museums, you know that people come and see it and then they don't come back. And we've talked with this, we've been talking to George for years about this, and he's prepared to do an interaction for the museum. I mean, if you've ever seen George Parker's presentations, they're very exciting. And so this can be really an interaction kind of thing, but we're getting kind of ahead of ourselves here. But there is a great future in terms of that.
Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, everyone. Mark, sorry.
Hi, Pauline. Thank you for your presentation again. Quick question. What are you asking from the municipality then? I'm just a little lost on that end. Are you looking for funding or?
Pauline, maybe I can answer that.
Okay. It might be too early to tell you, because I think that this is a work in progress. And I think after a committee were established, that we have some more time to interact in terms of finding out what the council is looking at, what is possible to do. I think that we need to do some soul searching, some groundbreaking, some information that we can share that will be viable. And because we want this to be something that's for the future. And so I hope to be back for another presentation, but I think the first step is getting this committee in order to gel some of the thoughts that we have about this, the thoughts that the council would have, the thoughts that the community would have in terms of how we do this.
So you're looking at having a council committee, like a committee of council for this, or is it strictly going to be a committee on its own from the Farwood area?
Yeah, well, I think it's important that a council is leading this. And that there's a number of people, I know in our group, a number of people that would like to participate. And I know that the person I've just met recently in the last few minutes, Stuart Richardson, is here, and I think he is keen about this. And I know of former Heritage Committee members that are also very keen about this. So we might want to bring a lot of people together in terms of how we do this, because it's a major project. And it's a major project. It's something that'll last for 100 years, maybe more. And but I think it's important for young people to learn about the history. It'd be a great place for school trips to come and learn about what's going on. And of course, I think with Northumberland County is promoting what the Deputy Mayor said, we're promoting tourism. And this would be a place that people would come and learn about the community.
The request today is actually from the Heritage Committee asking for council support to move forward in establishing, I'm going to use my own word, a working committee to see of the viability of this project. There is no request or direction of funding. we need to look at, is this a worthwhile project? What might it cost and what usage would it have? None of us at the Heritage Committee, which is where I sit as a committee member, want to move forward with a project that has ridiculous costs and minimal usage. It all has to be planned and discussed thoroughly before we go much further, and the committee would do that.
And I think one of the things that would need to be discussed is location. Is location of where it would be. We'd like to have it at the dock, but there's not really any room there. Another major issue that would need to be discussed is what is the quality and the of the material that's there in the tractor trailers. It's been there for 20 years. Hopefully it's still good. It would, anything that's built would have to be done to the building code. And so what portion of the historical of a station, what portion of those materials would be viable to be used? So, I mean, these are questions that none of us have any answers for at the moment. But we need to have people come together to discuss as the mayor has mentioned.
We're certainly running out of time on this type of presentation here, but Larry, I believe you have one question.
I only have one comment, and that is, in the motion picture Field of Dreams, they said, if you build it, they will come. So that's all I've got to say.
I do have one follow-up question, and I'm going to look towards our staff. Amanda, we have a electronic version of some of George's displays, some of his presentation. Could that, if we still have that, and I assume we do, could that be sent out to all council members? Thank you. I think you would enjoy it. I think you'll be amazed by it, to be quite honest with you. Thank you, Pauline. Thank you, George, and everyone else who's been involved. Okay, motion on the presentation that the delegation provided by Pauline Browse. And I'm going to throw George in here as a friend of Harwood. Waterfront be received. Motion and seconder, please. Mark and John. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 8 on our agenda, public hearings and meetings. Thank you, everyone. It is recommended Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hamilton acts as follows. The council move into a public meeting under section 357 of the Municipal Act at 1:27 p.m. on April 15th, 2025. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Larry, John. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. 8.2, application for cancellation, reduction, or refund of taxes. Application 2025-01 being 5431 Lakeshore Drive. Effective date January 1st, 23 to December 31st, 24. Is there anyone in the audience that's in support of this? Anyone in the audience opposed? Anyone seeking clarification? I will ask any questions from council members. Thank you. Okay, motion to rise from public meeting and reconvene to regular council. Motion reads that council rise from a public meeting under section 357 of the Municipal Act and reconvene to a regular meeting of council at 1:29 p.m. on April 15th, 2025. Mover and seconder, Bruce, Mark. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Planning bylaws. 9.1 on our agenda. Zoning bylaw amendment for 1577 McEwen Road. This is an item that's been brought forward for reconsideration from February 18th, 2025. Jennifer, is there anything that you would like to bring to our attention or let the report stand as it is?
There's no additional information that has been brought forward since the application was originally considered by council, with the exception of Drew Macklin's indication that the applicant would be willing to scope the permitted uses that would be permitted on the property. So eliminate some of the existing permitted uses from the property.
And Jennifer, there's been discussion, I believe, that was one of the principal reasons why council members were willing to bring that forward again under reconsideration. So what we have before us is identical to what we had previously. So if the council members that wanted it to be brought forward again, wanted modifications to those permitted uses, would we not have to do that prior to first, second, and third reading?
Mayor Jim, I believe that in this case that you could reconsider the motion could be that you reconsider the bylaw with the elimination of whatever those proposed uses are. And move forward like that. This is more of a question for the clerk's office in the whole bylaw administration process, but I believe that you could recommend or move that the bylaw be adopted except for certain uses that are outlined in the highway commercial zone. So you could eliminate perhaps an abattoir, the planing mill, the sawmill, the commercial greenhouse or nursery and garden center. And I don't recall which other ones Drew had indicated that they would be willing to see removed or that council would like to see removed. I have the list of all of the uses that are permitted in the zone right now, if council would like to hear those.
I'm thinking that council members would need to hear that before they pass this. Turning to my fellow council members, does anyone have a list already of what they would like reconsidered or eliminated from the overall list? Or would we like Jennifer to read them off and we can kind of give a head shake as we go through each and every one? How would we like to do this, council? Everyone in agreement? We'll get our staff to read the list with a little hesitation after each one. Jennifer, if you would, please.
Abattoir, which is a slaughterhouse. Agricultural equipment supply and retail outlet.
Well, I certainly would like to keep that, to have it functioning.
Auction outlet. Bulk fuel dealer. Butcher shop and accessory retail meat establishment.
We come back to that one?
Sure. Commercial greenhouse, nursery or garden center. Contractor's yard. Craft shop. Farm implement dealer, including the sale and service of snowmobiles and lawn and garden equipment. A feed and seed mill. Fertilizer mixing and sales establishment. Merchandising service shop. It's a shop. It's a shop. Well, it's not, it's different than it's sort of like a retail shop, but it's also a service shop too, so. I'm sorry, I don't have my bylaw here to look up the definitions. Does Tim have his zoning bylaw here? If he does, we can come back to that and I can give you the definition of that one. So that was merchandising service shop. Then we have a planing mill. With a planing mill where you mill wood. No. And then there's also a sawmill, which is very similar. A truck terminal. A wayside pit or quarry. An accessory residential use. Okay, then there was also, they had requested that commercial self-storage be added as a permitted use in the previous one. So that means that right now, based on what I've heard, that the special exception zoning would permit an agricultural equipment supply and retail outlet, a butcher shop, an accessory retail meat establishment, a contractor's yard, a craft shop, a farm implement dealer, including the sale and service of snowmobiles and lawn and garden equipment, a merchandising service shop, accessory residential use, and commercial self-storage.
What were the two that we were gonna come back to, or have I missed?
We were going to come
Sure.
back to the merchandising service shop, if I can come up with the definition of that. And Arthur has it here. Thank you, Arthur. A merchandising service shop shall mean a building or part of a building in which persons are employed in the furnishing and the repair of servicing of articles, machines, goods, or materials, as opposed to the manufacture of the same. Merchandising service repair shops shall include such establishments as small engine repair for items such as lawnmowers, chainsaws, and snowmobiles. So it's not a retail service store. It is something that where you're going to bring your small engine things and repair them, which is not uncommon in a rural environment to have that type of an operation.
I believe we even have that in our home industry, home occupation component.
Yes, we do.
So, council would say yes. Okay, and we had, Bruce,
I just wonder could that go as far as like a auto body repair shop?
No, an auto body repair shop is defined differently in the zoning bylaw.
Thank you.
and we had one other one that we had a toss up there on. What was that one?
Contract.
Butcher shop?
Were you wondering about a butcher shop?
I think we set that aside for future talk. Are we going yes or no on a butcher shop in this? I'm getting more head shakes with a no.
So that would put the list of permitted uses in this zone down to an agricultural equipment supply and repair outlet, a contractor's yard, a craft shop, a farm implement dealer, including the sale and service of snowmobiles and lawn and garden equipment, a merchandising service shop, accessory residential use, and commercial self-storage.
To amend the list of permitted uses within the bylaws presented.
Okay, are we done with that modification? Okay, so we did have a prepared motion. Yeah, and we're going to modify that original motion. And have you got the exact wording, or can we create that?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, so there is an existing motion printed on the agenda. It hasn't been moved or seconded, so we're just going to hold on to that one for a moment. And I would ask for a motion to amend the list of permitted uses within bylaw 2025-08 as presented. And once you've done that, then we will move forward with the motion as printed, and we'll further amend it. We'll just as amended.
Okay, I'm not going to repeat that. Do we have questions? Larry and Mark. So that's the motion to amend permitted uses as verbalized by Jennifer, and the motion itself created and verbalized by Daphne. Okay, well, we need a vote on that motion before we move forward.
Okay.
All those in favor of that motion? Okay, carried. Okay, so I may have to tweak this a little bit, that bylaw 2025-08, being a bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw 2001-58, be given first, second, and third reading, and finally pass this 15th day of April 2025. Do we in this motion need to reference? Yes.
Just to clarify, I would add that in there, just as amended with scoped permitted uses. So that it would be clear in the record what the action of council was within that bylaw.
So it's going to read that bylaw 2025-08 as amended, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw. Daphne's going to word that properly. We've all got the understanding, right? Going to amend the uses, which we've done in past. Now we're amending the overall bylaw being 2001-58 with this bylaw. Any questions? Clear as mud, everybody? Okay, all those in favor? Did we get a, yeah, we didn't get a mover and a seconder. We needed a mover and a seconder on this. Moved by Bruce, seconded by Larry. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Moving right along to 9.2. Bylaw 2025-19 Source Water Protection Official Plan Amendment. Prepared motion reads that bylaw 2025-19 being a bylaw to adopt an amendment to the official plan of the corporation of the Township of Hamilton be given first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 15th day of April 2025. Moving to seconder. Larry, John, questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, that was the official plan. Now we're moving into the zoning bylaw component of this. 9.3 being bylaw 2025-20. Source water protection under the zoning bylaw. Prepared motion that bylaw 2025-20 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2001-58 as amended. Township land use control bylaw be given first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 15th day of April 2025. Mover? Mark, seconder, Bruce. All those, any questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Under 10, adoption of previous council and committee of the whole meetings. 10.1, that the minutes of the March 18th, 2025 council meeting be adopted. Moving the seconder, Larry, Bruce. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Committee of the whole. 10.2. Prepared motion that the minutes of the April 8th, 2025 committee of the whole meeting be approved. Moved by John, seconded by Mark. Questions, comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Item 11. Motion to receive committee minutes. That agenda items 12.2 to 12.5 of the April 15th, 2025 council meeting agenda be received for information. Mover and seconder. Moved by Larry, seconded by Bruce. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried, thank you. So for some in the audience, that included the Heritage Committee meeting. So the minutes have been accepted.
There was a recommendation from the Heritage Committee that we are seeking disposition by council.
Okay, special motion under the Heritage Advisory that the Heritage Advisory Committee receives a presentation from, am I still okay here, Daphne? George Parker regarding the Harwood Train Collection and recommends that council request staff establishment a working committee to develop a plan of action for the reconstruction of the Harwood train station. Moved by Larry, seconded by John. All those in favor? Carried. Seems to be the day for Harwood here. 14. Harwood Waterfront Conceptual Landscape Design. Prepared motion that council receives report 2025-01. Harwood Waterfront Conceptual Landscape Design. RT08 funding for information. The council approves the Harwood Waterfront Conceptual Landscape Design project for $36,000 to be funded from the Park Reserve 2020. Forgive me, Park Reserve 22,000 and RO08 funding of 14,000. The council authorized the treasurer and mayor to enter into an agreement with Regional Tourism Organization 8. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by John, seconded by Larry. Questions or comments? Mark?
I just have a few questions on this one. First of all, the project itself looks or could be enormous, so it's going to require an enormous amount of money. To do this plan, where is this money going to come from, or where's the thoughts of this money going to come from? Or has that been thought of?
So at this point, we haven't got this far. Right now, we're just looking at a conceptual plan to see what can be done at the Harwood Waterfront. As mentioned in a previous report last fall, we did meet with Parks Canada, GRCA, Friends of the Harwood Waterfront in a meeting and looked at different options that could be done. So we have that information and we'll use that in putting an RFP out for a conceptual design to see what types of things that we can do down there. And then at that point, so at this point, there's no construction. It's just a plan. So we have a plan in place that council can adopt to move forward with in the future.
I don't know if I've seen the plan. Is that something?
No, this is to get the plan. This is for
just
the
to
plan.
Get the
Yes.
plan, but I mean.
So it'll include public input, user groups, the authorities, all that kind of thing on what can be done there.
Okay, so there hasn't been anything.
Not to this point. No.
Okay, thank you.
Larry?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I think there was a plan at one time, some years ago, that was brought forward by the Friends of the Harwood Waterfront. And so that concept that was done by a firm some years ago, I forget, I don't know what that firm's name was. Does Jay or? It was a fairly aggressive plan with docking and stuff like that. But I think that one concept had no costings for it at all. But I think now what we're looking at is sort of taking a look at what the conversations between the Trent Water System and I guess I forget all the other GRCA is what can be done. It was always my concern is it's fine to have a concept, but what can physically be done under the rules and regulations of all these governing bodies? And I think we've established that now. And, you know, I'd hope that maybe that the firm that originally did that might have an opportunity in the RFP to, you know, have a chance at that. But you know, it's been years that docking system and the land that used to be there is gone. So, but there's a lot of activity. Even on Sunday, I went to put the flag back up on the pole, and there's quite a few people down at the dock. You know, some of them with fishing rods, some of them just having what do you call it, a picnic. So there is a need for that facility there, and I think by moving this forward, we'll even get a better idea of what can be done, and being cost effective also. You know, there's options, so it's not like, you know, putting in fill in all that kind of stuff, but that's the concept. So anyway, that's my only comment. So thank you, Trevor.
Mark,
I know last time that this came forward, that there's a great group there that wants to bring, move things along, and rightfully so. But there's also a group there that live there, will see some changes and so forth. Have they been talked to at all about this, or any thoughts that they've given? Because last time there was some real negativity, even though they didn't want to come forward because they live there, and of course a lot of their neighbors and friends were supporting moving forward. So just a little worried about that kind of thing happening.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Jib, I think that's one of the good things about going through this process is there is a public consultation process. There will be. We'll build that into the spec and the scope of work for the conceptual plan, to go through that public process, to go through all the authorities that need to be addressed, to meet with them. That'll all be part of the process. So if, we'll get that feedback at that time. If people don't want to see anything or want to see something very limited done down there, but that's part of the process, is seeing what the community wants.
Okay, thank you. I know, Larry's mentioned that, the dock is being used and has been used, and it'd be nice to have an overall finished plan so we do know what it will look like when it's completed.
And I think that's important from a staff standpoint right now is, so we've had in the last few years, we've done a lot of one-offs with Friends of the Harwood Waterfront, but we don't have that long-term plan that staff can follow. And that's my idea of this conceptual plan, is that there will be something that we can start and work away at piece by piece. And whatever we do, it falls in line with that plan.
Sure, and then we can also have opportunity to budget or try to get funding.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Larry?
Just to follow up, thanks, Mark, Mr. Mayor. I think in the future, if there was a plan, it could be looking at redeveloping that whole area down there at the dock. It's possible because of the regional tourism organization is interested in providing more tourism facilities along the lake. There's a lot of people come up from the States on these big cruisers and stuff like that. And there is the opportunity to have more commercial organization or operations there, restaurants, et cetera. And it might even be the opportunity in the future of having private public investment in this. So that's my only comment there. So there's a good possibility for the future. Thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, we've had a motion. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. 15.1. Applications for 357 on Municipal Act for refund of property taxes. Prepared motion that Council of the Corporation of the Township of Hamilton receives report 2025-04. Applications per section 357 of the Municipal Act for refund of property taxes, and the council approves the write-off of property taxes for the total amount of $1,281.11 for 2023 and the 2024 tax years, of which $585 is the municipal portion. Got a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Mark, second by John. Any questions or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Carried, thank you. Now, in my haste, I didn't declare a conflict early on. As you can see under 15.2, I have more than one conflict because I think I'm paying for this as well. So I'm going to step out and I'll probably get out in the hall and swing back in. Larry, if you would please deal with 15.2.
Okay. Here's 15.2.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay, listen, so, okay, we're bringing forward 15.2, BLW 2025-01, noise bylaw exemption request. It is recommended that the council of the township, the corporation of the township of Hamilton enact as follows: that the council receives report BLW 2025-01, noise bylaw exemption request for the following information, and that the council approves the request from Christina Jibb for the exemption of noise bylaw 2014-36 to permit amplified music for a wedding celebration on June 7th, 2025 until 1 a.m., June 28th, 2025. Can I have a motion? Mark, John, any questions? All in favor? So be it. I just want to make a comment that this is for the Jibb property. So knowing the mayor, his voice alone would probably carry well into the, well beyond the noise exemption.
I simply hope that that voice that you're speaking of isn't removing the cattle from the wedding sites. Okay, 16, emergency services. No, I'm mistaken, sorry. 17, communications and announcements. Prepared motion and agenda items 17.2 and 17.3 be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Bruce, second by John. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. You want to pull them and discuss them in any way? Seeing none, we'll move on. Okay, 18. Establish tax rates. Prepared motion reads that the bylaw 2025-18 being a bylaw to establish tax rates and to provide for the levy and collections of municipal, county, and education taxes and penalty and interest in default of payment for the year 2025 be given first, second, and third reading and finally passed this 15th day of April 2025. Mover, please. Larry, seconder, Bruce. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. And I can't imagine we have any media with us. There's certainly none present in the auditorium. So this gets us to closed session. And we will take a few-minute break once we get into closed. Okay, prepared motion. The motion to move a closed session to discuss matters permitted under section 239 2B, E, and D regarding Senior of the Year nomination, a matter under litigation, a human resource matter. The motion reads that it's recommended that Council of the Corporation of Township of Hamilton acts as follows: that the council meeting held on move to a closed session at 1:59 PM under the Municipal Act, sections 239, 2B, E, and D. Do I have a mover, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by John. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. We'll recess for a few minutes.